I was looking at a video that Willie D recently did on his channel when he was talking about Michael Bloomberg and how he wanted to contribute 70, I think, $billion toward black people to help close the racial wealth gap. And then I said, you know what? I'm going to speak on this a little bit, but I'm also going to break it out into a more broader picture. One that I think many of us have come to understand now, but the total of us, like the vast majority or the collective of us, have not grasped already. So to focus on Michael Bloomberg first, I said in his comment section, because I left a comment in so many words, I can't remember verbatim what I wrote. It's interesting that Michael Bloomberg wants to do all this stuff for black people now after what he did way back in the 90s when he was mayor, what he did to black people, specifically black men, with the whole stop and frisk thing, him and his little sidekick, Rudy Giuliani, a.k.a. the Gargoyle. That thing, that law ruined a lot of black men in the state of New York. That law ruined a lot of people. And even though, quote unquote, it's not on the books anymore, the remnants of it is still there to this day. Like the effects of what happened back then in the 90s from that law, from that bill, is still being felt to this day by many people who are in New York. Anyone can tell you that. Now, I had did a video about Michael Bloomberg, about the whole stop and frisk thing a couple months ago, and I went off on his ass too. I don't care if he has billions, he can take them billions and shove it up his ass. I don't care. Because wrong is wrong, and what he did was indeed wrong. He used his resources to implement a bill that literally affected a lot of people just so they can keep them prisons filled. Remember, we talked about this plenty of times. And then he tried to talk down, not talk down in a way of tone, but talk down his mistake. Well, I don't even want to call it a mistake. His misdeed, what he did, and tried to get black people to be back on his side. And the only reason he's doing this is because he is currently running for president of the United States of America. That leads me into the more bigger picture now, which is why you see the picture of the Democratic symbol and how fitting that it is of a donkey, because all of them have proven to be nothing more than some jackasses. Trust and believe the Republican is no different. But I'm focusing on the Democrats right now because I see them doing this the most because of the history us as black people in this establishment have with that political party. Now, you'll have some people who are Republicans are probably praising that black people are finally leaving the Democratic plantation. But many of us are leaving or have left already because of our own reasons, not because the Republicans are trying to recruit us or anything like that. And many of them are, because they keep trying to say you need to come over to this side. Look at what Candace DeContris Owens is doing with that whole Brexit thing. That's all her little mission is, to get black people to come over and be a Republican, like they can do anything for us as well. They can't. Both parties have proven that they can't do shit for us. But we noticed that Democratic Party has crippled black people as a whole for decades. But finally, many of us are awakening to the BS they have been feeding us for so long. Notice that whenever there's an election year, an election cycle coming up, that's when they want to cater to black people so much. And I mean so heavily and so intense. Michael Bloomberg, where was all of this talk about closing the racial wealth gap at last year or 2 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago? We know where your mind at was about almost 30 years ago, implementing that stop and frisk. Around that time, that's where your mind was at. You wasn't thinking about the racial wealth gap then. You were thinking about locking more black men up for some bullshit ass crimes. And I wouldn't even, and a lot of times I wouldn't even consider them to be crimes. It was petty shit. One that didn't even require for them to be in jail. It's probably still some black men in jail right now under that stop and frisk law to this day. But back to the broader picture with these Democrats, or some people call them demon craps. Either way, that's fine with me, because every name that is outside of their actual name and title is fine to me. It fits them perfectly to a T. But they love to blow smoke up our ass. They love to try to kiss our ass. And I think a lot of people are finally aware of what they've been doing for so long, which is absolutely nothing. And I think one thing that awakened a lot of us up was with the former president, Barack Obama. In 2008, black people were very excited to see a black man, quote unquote, running for president and then winning, because that was something that was unheard of. That was historical. But then as time went on, we started to see the veil get lifted back, and we started to see it for what it was. And I think that's what was the great awakening for a lot of black people at that time, or back then, or at least now. A lot of black people are starting to figure out what's really going on. And a lot of them are hating hating black people for thinking critically now. They love us to have that plantation mindset. They love that. They get off on it. I saw so many black people were mad when Kamala Harris had dropped out of the race and started to blame black people, specifically black men, of course, for her dropping out. And then Cory Booker dropped out, and they were upset about that. So then they'll try to pass us off to another non-white person like Andrew Yang or that Julian Castro. Or did he drop out too? See, I don't keep up with them. They're dropping like flies. So they keep blowing smoke up our ass. I know Michael Bloomberg is not going to do what he claims to do. It's too little too late, and he's untrustworthy. He literally rubbed a lot of black people the wrong way and left a bad taste in our mouths when he did what he did, along with the gargoyle, back in the 90s. I'm not even from New York, but I have family that's from there. I went to college with people who were from there, and they could tell you that shit damn near ruined a lot of black people up there at that time when that was going on. Yes, I know it was some Hispanics who got caught up in it as well, but I'm really focusing on us right now. If that's his way of trying to give us an apology, he can forget it. Because really, $70 billion to close the racial wealth gap. And I think a lot of people are also coming to the realization that's not going to help us. They said what we really need is those tangibles, and that comes in the forms of trillions, not billions. So no, we're not going to budge for you, Michael Bloomberg, no matter how many billions you throw in our face. Listen, the election is in November. I just have the strongest feeling that 45 is going to get reelected, even with all this impeachment stuff that's going on at the moment. I think he's still going to get reelected. It's not going to go the way that the demon craps, as people call them, is going to want it to go. And they'll be crying again. And then somehow, some way, I bet black men will get blamed again, because we got blamed for the last one, even though in the exit polls it said that white women were second behind white men in the voting in the exit polls. And as far as non-white categories go, Hispanics and Latinas, they came in third. But it is what it is. And I think in some small way, even some black women are starting to wake up to the realization that saying that the whole black woman is the backbone of the Democratic Party, which is another tactic they love to use, and I talked about that as well, are realizing that that's some bullshit as well. Not all of them, because some of them love a compliment, but for the ones who have awakened to that notion, kudos to you for realizing the con game, I should say, that they're trying to run on us. But like I said, realize neither party is good for us. Neither one. But that demon crap one definitely gets the huge side eye from many of us, because historically that's the party that we have run to. If you look back in history, and I've actually talked about this, historically, black people were Republicans first, were part of the Republican Party first, before they got ran out by the palm colored people there. And then that's how we got thrusted into the demon crap party, and then realized they ain't do shit for us. So now it's like we're right in the middle. It's like, look, we only gonna go for those who are planning to do for us and actually stand on their word in a genuine way. And neither one of them are doing it, but especially not this party that you see on your screen. But that's really all I have to say for right now. Y'all let me know what y'all think about this down in the comments. Like, share, subscribe. Make sure to follow me on Twitter if you have not done so already. Have your notifications turned on, and I will talk to you in the next one.